Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my channel. Today in this video I will show you how to make this adorable, super easy accordion style mini album. So stay tuned for the supply list and for the tutorial, and then a walkthrough of this album after the tutorial. Remember, if you like my tutorial videos, give me a thumbs up down below so that I'll know, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and click on that bell so you'll receive notification when my next video is uploaded. For the Our Graduate album, the accordion album, I'm going to use the Our Graduate 8x8 paper pack from Country Craft Creations. This is the exclusive designed by Country Craft Creations paper collection, Our Graduate. So I'm also going to make my front and back covers with the lightweight chipboard. So you need two pieces of the 8.5 by 11, which I cut down to the size I need, which are 6 by 6. So I have two 6 by 6 pieces. For my pages, I'm going to use black artisan cardstock, and you need to start out with 5 sheets of the 12 by 12, and I've cut down 2 of the sheets down to 12 by 6. So we have 4 pieces that are 12 by 6 inches, and then the other 3 pieces you're going to have a 1/2 of a sheet or more left over, but you need to cut 5 that are 5.5 by 11.5. So let's start on the cover first. So I've gone through here and I have picked out this print, the stripe, I think, for my cover. So I'm going to do that first. Let me grab my mat for my scoreboard. What we're going to do, we're going to wrap with pattern paper instead of cardstock. Okay, so this is the side. I love this side too, but I have 1 sheet left to use, but I want this for my cover. So this goes down. Put your spacers in, one at the top, one at the side, and we're going to glue this down right here so that we have about 1 inch all the way around. So the spacers help us to do that. Spacers are from Country Craft Creations. You get a set when you order them that are 12 inches long. You get 2 1-inch, and you get 1.5 inches. We're not using the 1.5 inches today though. So we're only using the 2 1-inch spacers. If you don't have these, you can cut some out of chipboard. So go ahead and put this on, and then flip it over and burnish. Okay, and then we'll set it aside and let it dry, and go ahead and put the other one on as well. Now, this is an accordion album. It's going to be a little bit different than a traditional album. It is going to have the lightweight chipboard covers on the front and the back, but it does have a spine. It will be open. So get this on here good. And we'll put this in, put this up to the spacers. Okay, we can put these away now. And put this over. And go ahead and burnish. I'm going to take the other one now, and we're going to miter the corners. Grab my craft knife and my bookbinding mitering tool, and I'm just going to quickly cut these corners, all 4 corners off. So that I can wrap this. And cut the corners off, all 4 on both pieces of the chipboard. If you don't have a mitering tool, you can use your ruler and just leave about 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch from the edge, from the tip of your chipboard to right there, just to give everything mitered, or you can fold your lines and actually cut out the squares, whichever way you prefer on yours. So now we have this. I'm going to, oops, fold along the chipboard. Now usually I use some score tape to hold this down, but these aren't very big, so I think it's going to be okay. And I'm just going to check each one to see how it folds. Okay, so I'm going to do two opposite sides. I'm going to put glue along the chipboard, glue on my pattern paper, and then I'm going to fold it over, and I'm going to burnish that. Two sides that are opposite each other. The Country Craft Creations pattern paper wraps beautifully. You don't have anything to worry about. So where it's wrapped, where this extends, this little bit of paper from this piece extends over onto this piece, over the chipboard. Just take your bone folder and kind of burnish that down. Put on all four. Fold it up and see how that looks. Okay, looks good. So now we wrap these. So I have the pages cut. There are two styles for this little accordion album, and I cut 5 that were the 5.5 inches by 11.5, and I've already done all of them except for one. I'm going to show you the scoring on it. And then I cut 4 that are 6 by 12. Now, 2 of these will actually be attached to the front and back cover, so it will be a little bit different. So you'll actually have 3 complete pages of this and 4 of this. So for this one here, you take you will do all 5 the same way. You're going to put your 11.5 in at the top of your scoreboard, and then you're going to score your 11.5 inch side at a 1/2 inch and at 6. So what that does is we just fold that, and then we have this here hinge, and we burnish those. So I've already done all the other 4. So you just burnish the little flap, and you can turn, depending on how we're going to put this in the book, we'll be able to reverse it or whatever, you know, flip it back and forth. So just right now, just burnish it both ways and get a good fold on that. And if we have to reverse, we can. So I have all 5 already done. Set them aside. Now the other pages, your 6 by 12, you're going to put your 6 inch in. I'm sorry, you're going to put the 12 inch at the top. So here's the 6 inch here, here's the 12. And we're going to score the 12 inch side at 3 inches right here and at 8.5. Whoops, 8.5. Then we're going to turn it so that the 6 inches at the top, I've got the little 3 inch space here at the top, and I'm going to score at a 1/2 inch. Okay, and then we're going to do some cutting on this. Now, the 3 inch will become a top flap, and this space down here, which ends up being 3.5 inches, a little wider, will be a pocket when we fold it up. But we've got to get rid of some of this excess stuff here that we have. So we're going to cut. Now it doesn't have to be a pocket, it can just be a flap, depending on what you want. So take your scissors. We only want to keep this 1/2 inch between each score line. This we keep. So I'm going to turn it. I'm going to make a cut along the score line up to the 1/2 inch long score mark. So let me just cut and show you. So I've cut here and here, just up to the 1/2 inch. Then we're going to turn and we're going to cut away this score line here. Cut it as straight as we can. And if I look at it and I see some still there, I see the score line, I'm going to cut it away. You can also use your trimmer if you wanted to have a really nice straight one, if you have the trimmer where you can drop it in. And then we're going to cut this one out. So you do all 4 of these exactly the same. So we're going to cut them all. Oops. Hanging in there. There we go. So that we have it looking like this. Now then, when we fold and burnish, I have this, and then I take my 1/2 inch corner rounder and the 3 inch flap, the shorter flap, I'm going to round that on the bottom. So it's just like that. Okay, and then of course you got your little hinge here, and we're going to score it back and forth so that it can bend either direction, because the same way, depending on how it's going to go in or how they're going to attach together, because I haven't done that part yet. And we want to make sure that it bends both ways if we need to switch it. Okay, with the artisan you can do that. So we have 4 of these. Somewhere I have a 4th one laying around here, and then we have 5 of these. So next we're going to start putting them together. I've moved the scoreboard out of the way because before we started putting these together, we need to do a little miter cutting on our hinges. So I've already done this one. So these, where we have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm getting them all mixed up. 5. Okay. These, it just has the flap like this. They're all, you're going to just miter because you want to be able to make sure everything moves correctly. So put your scissors right up against the score line on the 1/2 inch and just do an angle cut into the 1/2 inch hinge only. So it ends up being like this. Okay. So go ahead. I'm going to speed up the video, but go ahead and do that on both. So you're going to do this one the same way. You're going to open this up where the hinge is, well, where the score line is, put your scissors and then do a cut into just the 1/2 inch, just like that. So you see those? So that's just in the hinge. So go ahead. I'm going to speed up the video and I'm going to get all of mine cut. Okay, so we have all the ends mitered, or hinges on each end of each hinge mitered. So now we're ready to start putting this together. So when you have your cover, we're not going to put that on yet, but this piece here, I just want to look at it and make sure I've got it going the right direction. This piece here is going to attach one of these to the cover. Okay, so I want it, this hinge here on the right. So I'm not attaching it yet. I'm just laying it to make sure that I am looking at it right. And I'm going to grab one of these with the flaps. Now, the pocket goes up to the top, or the rounded one, and the hinge is to my right. I'm going to open this up, and this hinge here is going to glue into the center page underneath the flaps. And that's why it was real important that we angle cut these so that these flaps can still bend. So let's take our glue, and I forgot and left my pen out, so now probably got everything all plugged up, and it's been sitting here for quite a while. So if I have to work with it or take it off and clean it, I'll pause the camera so you don't have to sit through that part. We all know how it is with this glue. Okay. See if I can get it going or not. So the glue is going to go on just one side of, there we go, of my hinge. So I picked it up. So this attaches here. We've got the fold. We've got the bend of the hinge. So on this back side of the hinge. And now we're going to pick up this one. I know it can get kind of fiddly and confusing, and I apologize for that, so I'll do the best I can to show you. You're going to fit the edge of this one. So you have a hinge of the first one and the hinge here to the right of this one. Get your flaps open. So put that glue on the back of that. Now burnish your hinge down and let that glue grab really good. And wipe off any excess. I have a lot right there where I started it. And burnish that hinge. So that attaches the first one and the second one. So this is how it's going to go on the page. So everything comes together. So this closes up and that does that. Okay. So we've got all that. Wiping off the glue. So now I'm going to close that one up. So I have this one here that I'm working on. So another one here goes on this. So we want the hinge to the right, and this hinge is going to attach. Now we didn't have to probably cut those hinges at an angle, but I just felt it would be easier to do them all so we don't forget. So we have the pocket here like this. I'm going to move my cover out of the way for now. So we have the pocket here with the hinge sticking out. And again, we lift it up. The glue is going to go on the back side of the hinge. we're going to open this up so that this hinge is to the right. And then this is going to attach. So I'm just going to line these up the best I can, right along that fold line. And then I'm going to bring the fold over. Make sure my pages stay lined up. And I'm going to burnish that. Whoops. When I say whoops, that means I didn't get it close enough. There we go. Okay. So you may have to do a little adjusting. So you want to make sure the edge of this one is right up to the fold line of the one with the pocket. So now when we fold it back, we've got this. So now we have this page like this, and we have our hinge here. And we're ready for another pocket one. So make sure the rounded ones are at the top, hinges to the right, and again we're going to lift this up, and these are going to line up right in there. Okay. Okay, so we have the hinge here. We grab a plain one, and we're going to turn it so that the hinge is to the right. So let's do some scooting over. So I'm going to stay in. Oh, no, we're not ready for that one. We got to put this one on. I got ahead of myself. So I'm going to put the glue on the back side of this hinge because I'm putting them on the inside. If you put them on the outside, it's no biggie. Whatever's more comfortable, I would say, for you. You just got to make sure they're lining up and making that fold of that page there. See, that one slipped a little bit. I don't want it slipping on me. And I'm sorry if it got off camera or it gets way up close to the camera, but I've got to bend it to make sure everything is lining up. So there we go. Burnish. Okay, so now we have this one, the flap. Now we're ready for the other. So we have the hinge to the right, and this hinge is going to go right here. Okay, so we're just putting it all together, making a long piece, then it will all fold up into our album pages. So this one, the side with no hinge, goes into the one that has a hinge that was a pocket the last one we put on. We're going to line them up, make sure lined up together, and burnish. Just like that. I'm going to make sure they're stuck down good. Okay, so there's that one. And now we have this hinge. So I hope I made the right amount of pages. I think I did. Okay, so we're ready for another pocket. Oops. This is one of those cases where I need to flip it around. Okay, we want the hinge here on the top. And I see a little bit of stuff that needs cut away a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Clean up that little lip there. Okay, so we want this folding up and this folding up in the hinge here. So again, this hinge is going to go inside. So flip this up, glue on the back side of the hinge. Okay, lift this up, and I'm going to put the glue, or put the hinge down. I really don't know the easiest way to tell you to do it, because every time I do it, I slip a little bit. So, right there. Oh, there it is. Couldn't see the edge of my hinge there. Press it down. Okay. Bring it back and let's get it burnished. Okay. Close it up and look it over. And this is where I'm always having to reposition because I get it off a little bit. So I'm going to put some more glue. You want it right. You don't want it out of sync or out of square. Does that make sense? So that's got to go right there. Okay. So I think that's better. And varnish. Okay, so there's our pocket or flaps like that, and we have a hinge there. So everybody's folded up. So now we need another solid one here. Okay, so the glue goes on the back side of the hinge. And I hope I'm not putting anything upside down. Okay. Hopefully my head didn't get in the way. Let's see here. Trying to stay on this white mat, the square, trying to help where I get out of the camera view. Okay. Whoops. That one's not folded right. That was totally off. So hang on to the everything. So if you run into that, take that off real quick. Like it was not hanging right. So put this back this way. Okay, let me try it again. Somehow it was not hanging right. I could hear that crackling sound of paper rubbing. Knew that. Oh, no, that's not right. I have this little boogered up spot here, but that's going to be okay because that's going to be covered with paper. So let's just make sure we get it all burnished right. So somehow I feel like I'm off somehow. There, that's better. Get that folded in there. And then we have this hinge here. So this is a solid. This goes on our last one with flaps. And then we have one left that's going to attach, and one side's going to attach to the back of the album. So fold this. So the back of the hinge goes inside the flaps. Okay, so the last one. Now we are going to have an extra flap here, and that's okay. We're going to be gluing that down because you're not going to see that. We just need to assemble, attach this last one on right here. So we put the glue on the back side of the hinge. Take this flap, get it in there. Okay, burnish it. Now we have the last one. This will glue into our book, so our cover. So I'm just putting glue on the back side of this last hinge. You could cut it off or glue it down, whichever you want to do. I'm going to just go ahead and glue it down and burnish it so it has a nice finished edge and not a crooked cut that I might do. So now we're ready to, let's see, fold it all up like an accordion. Hopefully everybody cooperates. Back and forth. Pay attention to your flaps. You don't want to bend them. Okay. So now we're ready to decide what pattern papers to use. Remember, this is the back side, this is the front. The back has that ridge. I refolded it to get that on the back. So these won't have pattern papers because this glues to the cover. And so I'm going to go through, pick out my papers. I put an X with my white pen so I know I don't have to pattern that. I'm going to do mine outside of the cover without it being attached. If you want to do yours with it in the cover, then you would go ahead and glue this on, and you just center that on the front and the back and get them centered, and we'll end up putting a ribbon around it and using a cut apart or some decorative element or another piece of paper trimmed down to hold the ribbon in place. Or you might want to do a clip or something for your accordion album, whatever you want to do. So pretty much this is the construction of it. It's not the end of the tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and cut my papers. I won't be showing you gluing them in on the pages, because that's just repetitive and you don't need to see all that. But anyway, you're going to pick out your papers that you want to go into your book. I'm going to make mine, I think, have a very narrow border. And so that's kind of a funky cut. I'll put it in the cutting guide. You cut it down if you want a 1/16 of an inch border around. You would cut it 1/8 of an inch shorter, height and width. If you want a 1/8 of an inch border of your cardstock showing, you would cut it 1/4 inch shorter than the height and the width. And so you would do this and this. Now what I am going to do, I'm going to make these into pockets, and then you will glue, to make it a pocket, you will glue here and here on each one and glue it down. That makes a pocket. And then you can also make some kind of closure, like a string closure, and I may do that with mine. If so, I will show you doing that before I add the pattern paper. Right now, I'm just going to decide what I want to use and get everything cut and get it ready. Ink it if you want it inked, like with maybe the black soot ink. Get all that ready. You know, you would need a pattern paper for this side and the inside. If you're making this a pocket, you only need pattern paper for this. You don't need to cover this whole thing. You would just do maybe 2.5 inches here. So what I'm going to be cutting mine is, it's a weird measurement, 5 7/16 by 5 7/16, and then these flaps are going to be 5 7/16 by 2 13/16. I know people hate, oh, don't give me those 16th measurements because they just drive me crazy. But what it is just a bit smaller, a 1/16 of an inch smaller, because I don't want much of a border, smaller than the area that I'm covering. And then this pocket here, this would be 5 7/16 wide by 2.5 tall, so it just goes inside. Excuse me. And this would be the 5 7/16 wide by 3 7/16 tall. So anyway, now that I have you totally confused, I'm going to go ahead and pick out my pattern paper and get all that cut, and then I will start gluing it in, and I will stop and show you how to do a closure if I make one, and also the pockets. Okay, so have fun. If you're making the graduate project, you can look at mine when I get it finished and see if you like what patterns I selected for mine. I've been adding patterned papers to one side of the accordion album, and I've made closure on one of the pocket pages with the flaps. So that's this one here. Yes, I decided not to do the paper circle, which you can still do. I just wanted the clean look of just the brads with a short string wrapped, hopefully, around that, and that flips open. Now I haven't cut any pattern paper because I'm running really short for this back piece here, so I'll do something with that as I'm decorating. But anyway, this you just wrap it around once. Oops. The string kind of gets caught up in it, but like that, and it just holds it in that brad. So I'm going to show you how to do it real quick on this next one. There is other pages in between this pocket and this one, but the neat thing about it is I can fold it and show it to you. So I have already patterned the paper here on the inside for the pocket, and I do want to show you that to seal up your pocket, you just put glue on each side, and you can go ahead and seal that up before you put your closure on. So I fold that up and burnish it. Make sure it's sealed on the sides. So now we have a pocket here, and we're going to put closure here. So what I do is I lay this down. I have inked all my papers. I lay this down to where it goes, close my flap, and take a marking pen and about centered. It's I did about 2 3/4, just kind of eyeball it, and I did about right in here, about 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch from the bottom of the flap. And then I have to take my pokey tool because it's too far to punch, and I just poke a hole right here. Now, the next thing that I do is I take this little round circle that I punched, could be any size, and the small hole, I'm just going to punch it in the center. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just to give some lift underneath the paper so that the brad has something between it and the paper, and it's not sitting down super flat on this one here where you do the wrapping. So I'll just line this hole of this piece over the hole that I just made with my pokey tool, glue that down. Then I take a brad, and I'm using the large brads, and I'm going to insert that in there. And I just kind of press it down, and not real tight, just open my backing prongs up, just like that. And kind of leave it a little, with a little bit of a gap so that I can wrap that string in there. So it's not real tight on that one. So this one we can go ahead and glue down. And I'm going to do this on all the pockets, and I'm just going to show you one. Okay, so to line this up and burnish. So now you have your pocket here with your little closure brad. Now this one comes down, and I already have the piece of paper cut, and I wanted the graduates on it, and I've inked it, and I rounded the corners. Okay, so I lay this on here, and I kind of line them up and get a mark right about there. That looks like about, what, 3/8 of an inch, 1/4. And then I do take my hole punch and line this up, punch a hole. Then I have a piece of string. It's about 3 inches long with the double knotted on the end. Okay, so the end that doesn't have the knot, I thread that through the hole, and I bring it to the inside. Then I'm taking score tape because I want to try to make sure this sticks down, and I'm putting score tape over that string, a couple of pieces of it. Okay. Then I go ahead and take the backing off. So I have it sticky there. I take my brad, put it in from the front side with the string in the bottom, and then open up these prongs and press them down really good. You want this one to be pretty tight. Okay, so there's that. Now we take our glue, and I'm just going to put glue all over the back. And then glue this down. And remember, these two pockets will not be side by side once it all gets folded up in the book. So burnish it down. You really want to burnish that so that string is attached in there. And then you just wrap it around once, like that. And that's the pocket closure with just using brads. So these are a little bit closer together than the other, I think. But I think they'll work just fine. There we go. Because you're not going to see them side by side. They're pretty close. So I'm going to keep adding my pattern paper, and if there's something I need to show you while I'm doing this, I will stop and come back on. So now we're ready to put our covers on. I'm just flipping through, showing you the pattern papers that I chose and glued onto my pages. This is the one side, and then when you flip it over, you have the other side. Now I'm doing a voiceover in this particular clip of the video because my webcam, for some reason, turned my microphone off that I use with the webcam. And so I'm re-recording the voiceover for this segment only with my computer microphone. So it's going to sound just a little bit different, the volume wise. But anyway, I want to show you how to put the covers on. So you make sure you got your book turned the right direction. And I'm looking at the cover, and there is some really light wording here in it. And so I need to make sure it's going the right direction. And so this first piece here is going to glue on. So I'm going to take put quite a bit of glue on it to make sure it's secure. Now, when I first attempt to put this on, I don't get it on quite right, and I do have to pull it up, and I do that before the glue has completely set and reposition it. What you want is a 1/4 inch around all the edges of the cover showing. So a 1/4 inch at the top, both sides, and the bottom. So I found that lining it up the way I did at first didn't work right. I wasn't able to see all the borders. So here I bumped the camera in just a second when I'm trying to see what I'm doing. And you can see right there that I'm getting it too far down on the top. So that's not going to work. And I'm going to pull this up as soon as I notice. So see, I can see it right there. There's too much space at the top. And that's not going to work. So we're going to have to pull this up and put it on again. The good thing about artisan cardstock is it's really sturdy, really strong, so it can take being pulled up. It didn't tear any of it. I just put more glue on. And then I figured out that the best way to put this on is to open up the pages, or the first page, the double spread like that. Hold the book pages in my right hand and line up just that one. So I'm making sure there's a 1/4 inch there on the left edge, a 1/4 inch at the top, and a 1/4 inch at the bottom, which will make the one on the right just about right. So this works a whole lot better putting it on this way. So I'm just going to burnish it down, and then the cover on the front is on. And then we flip all the pages, and I'm going to take the other cover, and don't flip your book around. You don't want to get it upside down or anything if you have directional paper. And I'm going to look at the wording again
and make sure I've got it right. And on this one, I do the same thing now. Put quite a bit of glue on it all the way around the border, and then on the inner part of the page. And then I'm going to hold all the pages and the front cover in my left hand while I lay this piece onto the back cover. And again, you want a 1/4 inch from the top edge, the right edge, and the bottom. And that's going to line it up. So I'm just checking it, make sure it's lined up, and then I'm going to go ahead and burnish it down. So this is a different type of album. It has no spine on either side of it. It flips both directions. You cannot open it flat with these covers, this type of cover on there, because the two chipboard covers are close together. But it does make for a very sturdy front and back cover, and especially with this many pages. So anyway, now we're going to, I'm going to do some decorating on the inside, and I'm going to show you some more things that I do.
So I've decided to make a belly band type closure with a ribbon tie, and I'm going to make it out of scraps of paper. So I had these 2 scraps here. I didn't cut them down or anything. They are the 8 inches by 2.5. So I think that's going to work great. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch corner rounder and just on 2 ends, 2 corners on each one that are going to be facing each other. Now you could use just the dot. I started to use just the dot, or with the cap and gown. And then in my stash, I found this ribbon with it's black with a little bit, it looks like kind of a beigey gold color. This is from my stash. And then I pulled out 3 of the same brads that I use, and excuse my fingers, I've got ink all over me, and 2 eyelets. Okay, so I'm going to line these up like this. I'm going to take my pen, and I think I'm going to mark about in the center, about 1/4 inch. For the eyelets to go. Okay, so take my crocodile and punch the biggest hole. I've done that mark. You know what? I'm going to line these up together. That way they'll be in the exact same place, because the crocodile can do 2 thicknesses at once. So line that up and punch. So I have my 2 holes. And then drop an eyelet in. And we're going to crimp it down. Oops, didn't quite catch it that time. You may not want to crimp because of the thickness. Let me see. Let me try that. I don't have a hammer one. So let's see if that, I changed my setting. There, I think that worked pretty good. I have to do it a couple of times to okay, almost. Okay, I'll do the other one now. See what. I may have to put a piece of cardstock behind it. That one almost crimped. So it will crimp it, but okay. Do this one again. Apologize, it's taking me a little bit more time than usual. There. Okay, so that works. Got that. Okay, so now we have that, and that's where the ribbon's going to go. So I'm going to feed that through. I've got 2 pieces because I don't know how big a bow I want. I'm going to feed it through and tie it in a knot. Now, the reason I use the eyelet because I don't want it tearing. But it's just going to have a knot here. Like that. And trim that off. And then we do the other side. And trim that one off. Okay, now then, that's going to go on the front, and then this is curling around. So this is going to go like this, and then we'll tie together. So I'm going to put glue on one of these, so I can line it up on the back. Now, it's not going to be attached to the cover because you want to be able to take it off and flip through both sides of your cover. Okay, so that's the front. So it says graduate, so I'm going to bring this one around, the bow on the ribbon on the front, kind of center it, place that one there. They're going to overlap. And I have more than I really need, but that's okay. I'm going to bring this one around and let it attach. And I guessed pretty good on the where to put the glue. Make sure it's straight. Okay. Now, on this back side, I am going to put these brads. So I have 2 or 3. There, I had 3. Okay. So take my hole punch. I think I'll just use the piercing tool. So, sure, I've got plenty of glue back here to seal this one up. Okay, flip it back around, and I'm going to put one in the center. This is for decorative, and I am going to cover this with some paper here on the back. And then one on the right side. So this kind of matches the pocket. And one on the left. Okay, I like how that looks. So we open up the prongs on all 3 on the back. And then I'm going to take a scrap of paper and glue over that. I have plenty of scraps. Just want to make sure it's secure. So this is probably about a 2.5 by 2.5. I'm just going to glue it over it. And I don't care that it's a different pattern. That's okay with me because they all coordinate and go together really well. So just make sure I've got it here. And you could use score tape on that if you wanted to, but I'm just going to start pressing in on it with the glue on the brads, and that makes it really secure there. Okay, so there's the belly band like that. So that's the back side. This is the front with our graduate. So lift this up, bring this over, and then we'll just tie it in the middle. And as it forms to take shape, I think it will. And as I put more stuff in there, it's going to. Of course, you could tie it and then just slide it off your book if you wanted to. So, see how that works. Don't know if I've got it tight enough. No, I don't want it too tight because as you add pictures and stuff in it, your book's going to get thicker. Like that. Okay, so kind of like that, and I'm going to trim this off. This is like a real heavy woven kind of twill type ribbon. So I like how that looks. And yes, I can just slide it off if I wanted to. Okay. So now I'm ready to go ahead and decorate, and then I will show you the finished album at the end. And here it is, the finished little accordion, our graduate album. I did take this piece off here and matted it to black cardstock because it gave it a little more strength, and I like the contrast better. So I love how this is more for a masculine, for a boy. So I don't have any flowers or anything. I'm not going to add that. So it's just simply tied. This little belly band slips off. I've got this strip of paper here from the collection and the 3 brads and the 3 here on the back to kind of dress it up. So this slides off, and then under here I use some of the cut apart cards. This one I left open, not that one, this one right here, a little bit, so an actual photo of the graduate can go under there. Then you could seal that down if you wanted to. So this is the way the album's made. It does not have any spine on the side. It is strictly an accordion front and back. So when you open it up, you can't just, because of the cover, you can't just flip the cover part. You can hold it in your hand and flip it, but it's not going to lay down flat. But I made it so that you can do it like this. So as you see, I've added belly bands, black cardstock photo mats. I did a lot of heavy inking to get the extra black in there. I used some of the pattern paper to make fold outs, booklets, more mats. Use the tags that you can fussy cut to decorate things up. We have a little pocket here at the closure that I show you. It doesn't twist around when you use just the brads. But inside these I put things like cardstock booklets that are decorated, just scraps of the paper. I used up nearly all the paper from the collection, from the 8x8 collection. And that just kind of wraps to one side there and holds. So here's another mat in a tuck spot. And then you can just fold this up and then bring it on out. Another pocket here. I did leave this so that you can tuck a photo under there. And this one has a tag that I made, use some of the ribbon for this, and another photo mat. So you don't want to put a whole lot in the pockets because it's not very much room in the album. You don't want to make it too thick. So here's another photo mat. This is a belly band with this pattern paper matted onto a photo mat. And again, some other scraps of paper. I utilize a lot of the scraps. So to show you this, I'm just kind of moving it all out of the way. This is a tuck spot here. This is another belly band. Just keeps coming. Accordion albums are a lot of fun. Tuck spot here. And then here we have another pocket. And in this one, I made a booklet with several scraps of paper. So you can put photos in there. It's got one of the little certificates out of the cards. And then this image here, I just put her in there, even though it's for a guy. You know, it could be a classmate or something on the back. Maybe have a girlfriend or something right there. So sometimes it's a little fussy to get that string to catch. But I didn't want to wrap it around, and I didn't want the circles, these. But if you prefer to have the circles where you can wrap it around, you can certainly do that instead if you've seen how to make those. And this one here, I matted the mat down. This is a page where I pieced the paper, and then this one I left with just this pattern. So that is that side, and then you flip it over this way. And so I have split in half on each page to make this certificate of completion. And then I pieced other paper here on the side, and then I used tag that I split in half, and this one over here. And then when you open this up, we got the congratulations with the balloons, photo mat here. Yeah, I matted that one down. You can put a photo underneath that, and then the mat on that page, and another pocket. This time I did a card on a piece of cardstock, a tag, another photo mat. I don't want to pull on the string too much because sometimes they break. Then I left this paper just like that because I love the cap and gown on there. And then, oops, here we go, matted this, and this is another page here. And this one I took a square, probably like a 2.5 or 3 by 3, 2.5 by 2.5 or 3. Made the angles, so I made it like photo mats or photo corners. And then we have this photo mat in there that pulls out, and it just tucks in, so you can put a picture there. And then I took a piece of this cardstock scrap, rounded the corners, and just folded over this image here, kind of like a tag like that. And I like how that turned out too. And then over here we have a little, I added one of the tags onto a piece of black chipboard to kind of hold this in place. This comes out so you can add small photos, and then you have a photo mat under this large belly band here. And I just slide that under like that. And then we have a pocket here that I did a flat pocket. I made this booklet using scraps that I layered up right here. I gotta add a little more glue on the corner. I didn't have glue, so it kind of got caught there. And so sometimes you have to fix things afterwards. That's why you need to go through them and double check after you've finished. And then I brought it all the way around. I wrapped it around and added some more paper there. There's a photo mat, and then this, I love this with the script on it. So I just kind of cut a little mat out of that. So I just took that in again, some of the scraps and the tags. And then here on this page, we have photo mat. You can take a picture in there. And then on, oops, that's the back. So that would be the last page of this. So then this all folds back up. Keep my mats where they belong. And that is the album. So I want to thank you so much for watching this tutorial, following along. I hope if you haven't made an album like this, you'll give it a try. It's really fun and easy, and it's great to use an 8x8 paper collection on it. So that concludes this tutorial, and thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. That helps my channel to grow and for others to see the videos. Be sure to subscribe. Click on the bell if you haven't already. That way you'll be notified of my next video. And as always, check out countrycraftcreations.com for your scrapbooking supplies. Again, this is the 8x8 of the Our Graduate. You can get it in the 12x12. This is a graduation themed paper collection exclusively designed by Country Craft Creations. So check that out, and then check out all your other supplies that you might need, like your adhesives and your cardstock. The artisan cardstock is a really wonderful cardstock to work with, and I think you'll really like it if you haven't used it before. So that's it for today. Thank you so very much. Check back with you later. Bye-bye.